Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, I'm here to talk about UFC 298's co-main event, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. But before getting started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification to get all of this is new from this channel, your channel, the one and only MMA Vision Analysis. It's set. UFC 298's co-main event, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Will Paulo pull out of this fight? It seems to be a trend as of late for Paulo Costa to pull out of fights. If I'm not mistaken, it's been 5 fights in a row where Paulo Costa pulls out of a fight due to so many different reasons. A lot of those reasons are injuries. Perhaps many of those injuries are, justified by a doctor, good excuses to pull out of fights, you name it. But after the Adesanya fight, Paulo's career seems to have taken a nosedive in the most dramatic way possible. So many questions about the future of Paulo Costa's career. Does Paulo Costa have a chance in the middleweight division still? How does Paulo Costa do against a Robert Whittaker? So many different questions. And Robert Whittaker, so many questions about his career and where he's at in the middleweight division at this moment. I mean, both are on shaky ground, sort of say, in terms of not knowing exactly where they stand in that middleweight division. Do these two fighters have a chance to fight for the belt sometime in the future? I believe, yes, both of these fighters still have opportunity, and they still have plenty left in the gas tank to make it to a title shot. I believe Paulo Costa is much closer than Robert Whittaker is to a title shot, but only time will tell. Robert Whittaker, not in the greatest of form, and it seems like, both of these guys, after fighting Israel Adesanya, their careers just somehow taken a nosedive in one way or another. It's been more dramatic for Paulo Costa than it has been for Robert Whittaker. Robert was able to come back and capture some wins. But in all honesty, Paulo Costa pulling out of the last 5 fights, will it happen again? Hopefully not. Because Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa co-main eventing to UFC 298 sounds like a fantastic idea, on paper at least. Who's the closer to winning this fight? It depends on who's in the better form that night. But I believe that if Paulo Costa shows up, the Paulo Costa before the Izzy fight, Paulo is closer to finishing Robert Whittaker. Of course, nothing... you cannot take anything away from Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is a top name in the middleweight division and still has a chance of fighting for a belt in the middleweight division. But I see as Paulo Costa being closer to winning the fight between the two over at UFC 298. If everything goes to plan, obviously, if both fighters show up to the fight that night, I believe Paulo Costa is closer to winning the fight between the two. Where does Robert Whittaker go if he loses to Paulo Costa? There's serious questions that have to be answered, in terms of Robert Whittaker's career. Is it a wise idea to step down and wait perhaps to that 170? Do I have if I'm Robert Whittaker, I would have to ask myself, do I have a better chance at capturing title at 170? Or am I going to continue fighting in the middleweight division if I were to lose to a Paulo Costa? If he was to beat Paulo Costa, I don't believe it would mean much in terms of title shots, I believe, not right away. I don't think he beats Paulo Costa and he gets a title shot. I believe he has to go to, a much further extent than that. So he has to beat perhaps Paulo Costa and one or two more fighters in order for him to seriously be considered for a title shot. Paulo Costa, I say much closer, because if he was to beat Whittaker and one more guy, he will get a title shot. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments and subscribe for more.